We are the church. Beyond Sunday. Beyond Sunday. Yes, we are. We love Beyond Sunday.
Hi, and welcome to the first episode of Wheeler Beyond Sunday. We are so excited to be with you discussing Ginger's first sermon in her Advent series, which is Stillness, and we heard this past Sunday. So this whole sermon was about finding stillness within the Christmas season, which is so often replaced by busyness in our modern world. So we are really excited to dive into this topic with you. I'm Jade, and here we have...
Yeah, so my name's Derek Harding. I've been here at Wheeler for almost my whole life, over 30 years now.
I'm Sarah Arnold. I also have been here at Wheeler pretty much my whole life. Yeah, so I love it here.
And I'm Amanda White. I have also been at Wheeler my whole life.
They can't get rid of us.
No. I've been here about 6 months. I'm the ministry assistant. So we are so excited to dive into this topic. As you can tell, we're excited to have a good time with it, and we hope you enjoy listening along. So first I wanted to ask, did you have anything that just like really stuck out to you or stopped you in your tracks as you were listening to this sermon?
Something that that I have here that I wrote during the sermon, that when Jesus was born, no one noticed but the shepherds.
But on a quiet hillside, where they were always keeping watch with their ears perked and eyes peeled for any sign of approaching danger, the shepherds were postured to receive God's inbreaking as revealed through the heavenly host. Little did they know that they were practicing prayerful attention. Prayerful attention so that they would not miss when God came with a message for them.
And that was, even though that was later in the sermon, that was something that I never really thought about. That, while Mary was in labor and giving birth, the only people there were the sheep and the animals and all that stuff. But the shepherds were who the angels came to. And as Ginger said, they were giving prayerful attention before they even realized.
Absolutely, and I think that's something that is so relevant when we talk about how much busyness there is going on, because I feel like it's so easy not to be paying attention at all.
Yes, for
Anybody
sure.
else have anything that just really stuck out to you as you were listening?
You mean beyond her singing that song?
Yes.
That was great. That was great.
Insert that here.
Yeah.
It's the most busiest time of the year, with recitals and concerts and hunting the tree skirt. It has to be here. It's the most busiest time of the year. It's the craziest season of all. I get lost in the baking, the wrapping, parading, and decking the halls. It's the craziest season of all. Pardon my voice. There are card list and gift list and event list and food list and list for dear Santa Claus. There are parties and caroling and presents for mailing and 10,000 trips to the mall. It's the most busiest time of the year, with the calendar growing, the coming and going. Oh, please, can I just stay right here? It's the most busiest time of the year. Am I right?
So I actually was in a unique position this morning at the Grace Space table. And so when she was talking about busyness, I was like, oh my gosh, we're really busy over here. But something that just kind of puts me in awe at Christmas is when you look at Christmas through a child's eyes. And I think, sometimes we kind of get away from the true meaning of Christmas. Mm-hmm. And our kids can get so wrapped up, and we can get so wrapped up in things. But I just think about my kids some days, and they just slow me down to this pace of like, hey, Mom, tonight when I got out of the car, I saw those beautiful stars up there. And that is kind of what I think about when I think about the stillness and just the beauty of God's creation and bringing us back to the Christmas story.
Absolutely. That's so beautiful. So one of the first questions that she kind of asks as she was going through the sermon was, what are you afraid will happen if you sit out the Christmas rush? Like, what is holding you back from actually resting, and what is making you feel like you have to cram in so many activities or else like the world is going to end?
In a collection of Advent stories entitled Lean Toward the Light This Advent and Christmas, one of the contributors, Reverend Jeannie, Kendall, suggests a reason we may have considered in her reflection being still amid the Christmas rush. Writing, this time of year brings for many of us a restless overactivity. Some are necessary, but perhaps it is a good moment to pause and consider, might something other than necessity be driving it? Are we searching for some perfect Christmas? Some perfect Christmas which exists only in fiction and not in the reality of our lives? Are we afraid to lose the love from people around us if we do not get it right?
It's FOMO.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. I think for me, my family, we keep our Christmas very, very low key. Like, we have a Christmas tree with lights on it. We don't have anything else because my toddlers will like destroy it. So like, we don't have much of the rush going on within our household, but I feel a lot of like guilt about like, are my extended relatives going to think that like I don't value them if I don't like go all out trying to make sure they have the perfect gift, or like do all the little homemade things that I started doing back before I had children and back when I had free time. So I think for me, it's that like feeling of like, I want people to know how much I like treasure them, but also it's so much to do to like do all of that at this one time of year, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, I really feel that. For Lauren and I, we both have very big active families, and so we have lots of get-togethers, and the fear of disappointing people that you're not going to be there and trying to make it to everything when everything's scheduled on top of each other, plus trying to get in everything at church, all of that together. It makes for a very busy season.
For sure.
And I think sometimes I like the busyness in a weird way. She mentioned that the busyness stills the chaos that we're maybe avoiding, or we don't even know that we're avoiding sometimes. So I think that's something that maybe I can feel sometimes. And also, she asked, does it make you feel important? As if the contingency of the success of the event, of Christmas, of whatever the thing is on you. And I think that without even realizing it, I feel that way sometimes, that, oh, well, if I don't do it, then will it happen? But that's not really the truth of it.
That is such a great point.
Yeah, back to the FOMO.
For sure. I feel like sometimes at Christmas, especially with all of our families' gatherings and things, we can feel so spread thin, and then trying to redirect yourself back to why we're here and then feeling full. I know every time that I step through the doors of Wheeler, because people will ask me, why do you love Wheeler? And it's because every time I step through these doors, I feel full and whole. And so it's kind of, honestly, being here brings that peace.
Yeah, I get that. I never step in the doors and I feel like, oh no, here we go again. It's like, oh yeah, this is good. I'm excited for this always.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was literally thinking this morning, I was like, every time I walk in this building, I'll usually have like a toddler on my hip and a baby on the other. And I was like, I don't even make it 10 steps and someone is walking up like, can I get one of those children from you? I'm like, absolutely. Thank you so much. So we definitely have that kind of like share the load atmosphere where you don't have to be as like on all the time, which is wonderful. I was going to add too, for this, like, what makes you afraid to sit out the rush, is I feel like not even just in our personal lives, but like at work too. I feel like they want to cram everything into the Christmas season too. Yes. So you are like, you know, it's a big season for sales, or like whatever industry you're in, like there's always some kind of like ramping up around Thanksgiving and Christmas. And so then you come home and you still have that stress on, and then you're like, oh, and I have to make Christmas magic too. So it just spirals, you know?
Yes.
So then that leads into the next question that she asked is, what will it take for you to be still and know that God is God? Like, what would have to happen for you to actually find that stillness on a consistent basis?
And let us ask ourselves, what will it take for us to be still and know that God is God? How will we develop a posture of prayerful attention so that we do not miss the ways God is already revealing God's self to us every day?
I think the reality check for me in the sermon when she asked that question, what would it take, is that what it takes is something to put me down. So an illness, a sickness, injury, something like that. And that was kind of almost like a wake-up call, like, oh, that's your reason. That's the only time that that's what it will take. It will take you absolutely having to slow down. So I think the real answer to that question is I've got to figure it out. So hoping you guys might have a good, you guys might have something I could use.
The good thing for me, so my work, our vacation ends at the end of the year, so they force us to use it all or we lose it. I have not taken any vacation at all, hardly all year. So I'm forced to have to take some. So I have no weeks left in the year where I have to work a full week, which is good. I really needed this time, and I was off all of Thanksgiving plus this one day this coming week. So that's been very helpful for me to recenter myself.
Absolutely, that sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
I was thinking, like, on the way here, I was like, what would it take, because that's just one of those things where, like, I'm like, I don't really know. And I was like, I feel like I really want to rest, and, like, I'll say that all the time. I'm like, I would love a break. I would love to, like, just sit down and, like, be still, and to, like, contemplate and just, like, let God speak to me. And then I think for me, it's that I just have so many distractions that I live in on a daily basis, even outside of the holiday, And so I was thinking, like, oh man, I need to get like some kind of like a bracelet or something that, like, every time I look at it, I remember, like, to stop and, like, say a little prayer of thankfulness, or like to look at some need, or like just something to remind me to stop and take just a second to pray. Because I feel like most of us are in a season of life where we're not going to have like an hour or two to like sit and meditate as much as like we would benefit from that. I feel like any moment that we can steal, though, would be really nice. And so for me, that was one thing where I'm like, this is something I might want to try, of like just having some tangible thing to remind me to stop being distracted, or like distract me by something good, maybe,
Yeah. It's so funny you say that, because my thought, I had a thought during, I'm always trying to come up with my word for the next year at the end of the year. And I always have these big dreams. I'm going to get a tattoo, but I'm way too scared. But there are these places that make these temporary ones that will last like 4 or 6 weeks, something like that. And I was thinking, wouldn't it be cool to have that be still or something on my wrist? So we'll see. But then I thought, well, what if she has another good one next week?
just make a list.
I'm just going to have a whole sleeve, which is fine. I love tattoos.
I know you guys know that I'm very type B. So scheduling is kind of hard for me, but I do know that that's the area in my life that I need to, get a little bit better at. And so even just like cramming things into little minutes of the day. So honestly, when you guys brought up the podcast, I was like, I waste a lot of time singing silly songs in my car. Why not just like listen to something that's meaningful? And so I feel like maybe starting here and listening to something that's meaningful and going over the sermons. And I have a lot of great support here of people that really truly just speak life into me. And like Amanda last month had gotten me this devotional, The Trust Journey. And like, I think sitting down and reading that will help me be more still.
Absolutely. So when you mentioned the story about the shepherds that were like having that posture of prayerful attention, that was what stuck out to me most about the sermon as well. Just thinking about like, oh man, like I don't pay enough attention, I think one of the best ways that we can, I don't know, maximize those little moments where we are paying attention is to, like, I don't know, put a name to them and be like, oh, that is like, like a holy realization or something like that. And so, like when you were talking about your children, like causing you to look at the stars, I earlier today was hearing someone talk, and he was like, man, if the stars were only out one day a year, we would all be outside like that day. Like we would stay up all night to be like, wow, this is amazing. But they're out every night. So like we don't notice that at all. And that really connected to this for me. And so I feel like one thing that I'm going to do to try to cultivate that posture of prayerful attention is when I have a moment like that kind of stops me in my tracks, and I'm like, that is from God trying to tell me that, like, to pay more attention and to acknowledge these beautiful moments. I think that's a really great way that we can have that prayerful attention, is to be like, that is a holy moment. That is a special, like, time of realization for me, because it's so easy to, like, have that moment and be like, yeah, that's really cool. And then to breeze right along, and you don't let it, like, sit and, like, affect you. Yeah, I don't really know where I was going with that, but
I liked where it was going, Jade.
Okay,
I like it.
Right. My last question that I had written down was, are there any habits that you've cultivated to help develop a posture of prayerful attention? I feel like a lot of us were kind of in a similar boat of, like, needing to, like, look into ways to develop that more. But does anybody have anything that has worked for them kind of maybe in the past, or something you're hoping to start?
So one thing I need to work on is the first thing I touch in the morning is my phone. Like it's just automatic. Like, okay, what's on Twitter that I can go look at, and then I spend the next 20 minutes looking at Twitter. And I've been studying a lot about that, and what that does is you're getting an immediate hit of dopamine, and you're using up all your dopamine before you even start working. So how are you going to focus throughout the day? So that's why I've tried 1 week, got through half the week, did bad. Need to continue to try to get better at that. I've put time on my phone now to prevent me from spending too much time on social media and stuff, which is going to help. But I've also really enjoyed Ginger's Lectio Divina and the practices of that. I don't think we grew up understanding much about meditation. Like, meditation was kind of evil. Like, don't do that. That's not Christian stuff.
Yeah.
But I've learned the older I get, that's not true. Meditation is a very important practice that we should all try to figure out how to get into our life, and it has a lot of great benefits.
Yeah. I agree with the social media thing. Something that, if this even pertains, but it pertains to not being still, is I've noticed that I'm not satisfied even with just a TV show anymore. Even if it's something that I purposefully am watching, I pull up something on Netflix just to watch. No commercials. Actually, there are now. I don't pay for the commercial free. But I will catch myself scrolling through social media because it's not enough to just watch the TV. So, I've seen where people talk about, there's like this running joke on social media about how, like, people's dads just get on an airplane with nothing. They don't have anything to do, anything to watch. They didn't pre-download anything, and they're like, how did you do this? And so that's something that I have thought maybe I just need like a cold turkey moment where, we're just not going to do, I'm just not going to do anything for an hour. Alexa's going to set a timer. Sorry for whoever's Alexa I just set off. And they're going to set a timer for an hour, and we're just going to go for it, and maybe that's what I need, something that drastic.
That just, like, spoke to my soul. I feel that. And I also feel like, do you just have a place? I don't know. Sometimes you have to search for a place, but just like a place where you go when you just need to be still. I don't know. I feel like I felt it in certain places, but, like, one is especially right after I tuck the boys in bed, and then, like, I'll walk by their room and I'll just see them sleeping, and I'm like, it's so peaceful and still, and like, it's just such a good little feeling just seeing them like that. But also after that, I started this in the summer, like, on my back porch. I started writing porch prayers. And it was just little kind of things like God sightings, pretty much, just to be thankful. And so I feel like sometimes just finding that place, not on my couch watching Dancing with the Stars, and that's over. So I have more time now. But
Let's go, Robert.
we will cheer for Robert. So we just wait. I know Logan's a Dancing with the Stars fan. Yeah. See. But anyway, I just feel like, sometimes having that little place, it's almost like creating a routine for yourself to get into that mindset. And I've just really enjoyed being on my back porch.
So fun.
I love that.
But I felt that when you said tapping your phone as soon as you get up,
Yeah.
being on your phone and watching TV at the same time. But yeah.
Like, who would have thought we would have gotten
Yeah.
to this place?
Absolutely. And that goes so with what she was talking about in her sermon about like, are we being busy just to distract ourselves, Like, are we just trying to not have to like think or like to not have to like slow our fingers? I think similar to what you were describing about like just being kind of forced to like stop for a little bit. Lately, Henry has been fighting sleep so hard at night. And so like I used to like be able to hold him and rock him and I could like swipe on my phone or like have headphones in or something. But here lately it's like he will rip headphones out. He will he will wrestle until the last like moment his eyes are open. And so for me that's just been like a moment of like I'll just sit there in the completely dark room with the sound machine on, holding him, and he's wrestling. But like, it's that moment of like, there's nothing to entertain me at all right now. And so, like, I find that it's really easy for me to get frustrated in those moments because your mind is bored and you're like, I want something going on, And so like our minds just are craving that all the time. But it's like I'll get past a certain time and it's like my thoughts are just flowing freely and there's nothing like holding me up. And it is in those moments when I'm like, oh, let me like say a quick prayer of like, thank you that I get to like hold this sweet, healthy baby, or just like, thank you that I'm in my warm bed, or,
Yes.
But yeah, definitely those moments when life forces you to hold still and you're like, oh, this is actually not bad. Like, I really dreaded this or, that kind of thing. So I definitely agree. And I feel like in terms of habits that I would like to cultivate, something that my husband and I have been talking about is maybe, I don't know, I would like to have some kind of like special little time of Bible study with my kids or like as a family as opposed to just like we all like are kind of going through our own motions individually. So that's something that I would like to start this Advent season. We'll see how it goes with, the chaos, but, it's...
And those like Advent books that they gave the kids and they were like, don't start it yet. Well, my kids immediately were like, let me see.
Yeah.
Yes. I think something that I thought is the Advent study that a friend of mine has kind of put together, so I can't take credit for that, but doing that Advent Bible study with a kind of a mixed group of people, I think will force me to carve out some time.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I would like to kind of treat Advent this year like you treat Lent typically, where I'm like, I need to make like a resolution and I need to like just make this a special time, Because like the past 2 years we haven't even put up a tree. Like we've done nothing because I was due with Henry on December 3rd and I was like, I don't have that in me. So it's really nice to be like, I can actually like have the mental space to like enjoy Christmas this year. And so that's something I'm trying to be intentional about and, do that kind of Advent Bible study. Sounds awesome. Absolutely. Just to be intentional this year.
Yeah. For me, the past few years, I have got to the end of Advent or just the Christmas season because Advent goes longer than Christmas, right?
Well, I think it's Advent and then there's the Christmas season after Christmas.
Yeah, that's right. So at the end of Advent and like, there's those days after Christmas and before New Year's that feel like no man's land.
Just don't know what day it is anymore.
And it never fails that really since I've not an adult in the legal sense, but since I've been a true adult, I get to that and I'm like, I feel like Christmas didn't even really happen. It didn't feel the same. You know, Ginger talked about, are we chasing nostalgia? I think it's partly that, you know, you are the magic maker now, versus someone making the magic for you when you're a kid. But just getting there and thinking, oh, I didn't stop and slow down and enjoy this. I didn't really pay attention to what was going on to the Christmas story and leading up to Jesus's birth, you know. And so I really don't want to feel that way this year. So I'm going to try to figure something out. I don't know. Come back in a few weeks. I'll let you know.
Yeah. And I think part of the problem is that Advent is meant to be a season of waiting, and we do not like to wait, because this is supposed to be us, like, thinking about how the world had waited for thousands of years for a Messiah that, like, you know, like, people have, like, started to lose faith and, like, to think, like, is this ever going to happen? Are we just going to be separated from God forever? And, like, we don't want to sit and dwell on those feelings, and so it's easy to be like, let's just think about what I'm going to get someone for their presents, you know?
Yes. Okay, so Ginger talked a lot about prayerful attention, and we've mentioned it several times. And I think it's funny. I actually miswrote and wrote prayerful patience, marked it out, and then put attention because I was losing track trying to write. But I think that the patience part is that's probably something. It is patience, waiting on the coming King, and we're in an instant gratification kind of world.
Yes.
But it says prayerful attention means being still and recognizing that God will act as God wants for the good of his people. And leading into the thing about the shepherds, which we've talked about, if we don't listen and watch for his revelation, we will miss it.
Amy Oden, in her book, Right Here, Right Now, on the Practice of Christian Mindfulness, says that we need to adopt a posture of prayerful attention. A posture of prayerful attention. Writing, paying prayerful attention means paying real attention, not just going through the motions. A prayerful posture does not presume to already know what our paying attention will reveal. Prayerful attention expects to discover something about what God is up to. Thus, prayerful attention is curious and unhurried.
So if we're not positioned in a way that is prayerfully attentive, then, you know, we're not going to get, I think a lot, you know, God talked to, and Derek's probably someone better to talk about this. Maybe this is another podcast idea. But God talked to people a lot in the Bible. And I feel like God doesn't necessarily talk the same way all as much. Maybe, I don't know. I want God to talk to me like he talks to the people in the Bible. I want clear English words coming through in my head. And I know exactly what you're saying. But that doesn't really happen. So I think that we really have to be intuitive and really have to listen, and we can't listen if we're not still.
Yeah, have you ever been in a prayerful like situation where you're praying for something to happen, and you pray for a long time, and then in hindsight you look back maybe years later and you go, wait a second, I'm putting it together now. Like I just wasn't paying attention.
Yes, I just wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the prayer that I have always prayed, because I recognize the fact that, like, my attention is not always the best. Like, I miss those signs so often, is I would pray, like, God, just please open the doors that you want me to go through and shut all the other ones, because I do not feel like I'm smart enough to always know the difference, you know? Like, just smack me in the face with it, please. And I feel like that did help me in a way, like, to sit and think of it that way. It helped me to have that kind of prayerful attention, because then I was watching for, like, those little signs that you see about, like, oh, well, that, like, I don't know, the wording of that was a little bit off, and that might not be as good as it seems like it would be, and then kind of, you know, help you have that discernment if you're expecting God to show you, like, when something is wrong, you know?
Yes, for sure.
I think, do you remember that day that Pastor Ginger had that sermon where we all kept our eyes closed?
Yes.
And Grace Space was having a wild time.
And I was like, wow, okay, this is interesting. So I closed my eyes and, I'm sitting next to Meemaw and I'm like, are you awake over there? And she was. But at first I was like, this is very different. But I'm telling you guys, the day that we had the sermon with the eyes closed, I paid maybe the best attention I've ever paid. And so maybe we should just start living with our eyes closed. I don't know. Maybe that's why we pray with our eyes closed. I don't know. But
There's a proverb
it
in there
helped.
somewhere. I feel like.
Because I was just so visually, when she was telling the story of Jesus and the boat, and I don't know, something about having my eyes closed, I was like, okay, I really can visualize this.
That makes a lot of sense, Sarah. I mean, if you think about it, we're a very visual culture. We take in so much media that's visual and stuff, and it's for us to close our eyes and just take in a different set of senses and focus on hearing, and that's really cool. So for those of you listening to the audio of this podcast, maybe you're paying attention better than
And
the
if
video.
there's visual, let me look straight into the camera, Pastor Ginger. I did not fall asleep, and no one else did. We just loved having our eyes closed.
It's very interactive.
For sure.
I think also for me too, something that I'd been thinking about, we did our Christmas blessing shopping this afternoon. So it was really interesting having a sermon on stillness and rest when we went into Walmart at 1 p.m. on a Sunday.
After Black Friday weekend.
Yes.
Like,
after
I
Black
think
Friday
some's still
weekend.
going on.
Yes, there were still sales going on. The toddler section looked like a bomb had went off. I mean, it was a whole thing. And there were also other people there doing the same thing, in addition to everybody else just shopping regularly. So it was crazy, and I tried to continue to remind myself and think, how does this apply? How does this apply when there is a moment where she talked about there are necessities of busyness that we want to provide Christmas for these families in need, but that's important. But in the busyness of it, we don't want to get caught up in the busyness of Walmart. So I was trying to remember my own peace and not get mad if someone cut me off with their with their buggy, but thinking, how can I carry this peace into the busyness of every day? How can I carry the stillness? So have stillness within me, even though what's going on around me is chaos, because as she said in the song, which if we haven't plugged, please plug it here.
It's the most busiest time of the year.
Again.
It is the most busiest time of the year, and so it's going to be going on around us. But how do we maintain that posture of stillness? And also, that leads into, that's what sets us apart as Christians. And are we setting ourselves apart? Was I setting myself apart in Walmart? Or, did I look like it was obvious what I was doing? And it was obvious I'd been to church, I think. By the way I'm dressed, did people look at me and go, oh, like, that looks about right. She's mad and she's yanking stuff, and she's leaving the pile of clothes here and leaving stuff where it doesn't go. Or do we look different? Do we look different and have that calmness in the midst of the storm that is Christmas?
Absolutely.
So how did everyone's Thanksgiving go? Just to end on something fun.
Well, I don't know if you saw the picture of the turkey hats,
Yes.
but we had a wild time. I was very thankful for all of it, though, because it was just good to be with family and friends, and good to be here and then come back to church and see the Christmas tree up, or Chrismon tree.
So pretty.
We had a lot of fun. We ate a lot. Went to 3 different Thanksgivings. Yes, but we ended up having 2 of our Thanksgivings actually here because of the big families. And I ate a lot of food and then rode tricycles around in the gym with my niece and nephew, and almost got sick. Not even jokingly, but actually almost did. So I'm too old to ride a tricycle after eating 2 platefuls.
Wow. So Lauren
Welcome
and
to
I
30.
had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 different get-togethers. We were
my
supposed to have a
goodness.
5th. Lauren got sick, but and 2 of them were / birthday parties. So it was a lot. But so normally we just sit around and talk after we eat a lot of times. And I was like, let's do something fun this year. So I brought Uno, and it was the biggest hit. I mean, we played hours of Uno each night, and everybody was just loving it. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was about to come over here and be like, oh, our Thanksgiving was so busy, but then you guys did way more than I did, so never mind. Never mind. I took it for granted. We only did 2 Thanksgivings. We did like early food, so we did one at 11 and then one at 2. So I was like, I'm not even hungry again by the 2 o'clock one. But yeah, it was really nice. Big families. So the first one we did just with like immediate like mom and sisters and that kind of thing. And then the second one was like lots of like cousins and other people. So it was a busy day, but we had a good time.
Awesome.
All right. How about we'll close in prayer real quick, and we will see you next week for episode 2, when we will focus on the second in Ginger's sermon series. I know she's planning to spell out the word slow, so today was our S for stillness. So we've got a whole acronym we'll have by the end. So next week will be the L. So excited for that. I think the word is longing, but do not bet any money on that because I haven't glanced at the little list in a day or so. So
Let's take bets on.
yeah,
what that
we'll
was
see.
gonna be.
We'll see. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm right. Okay. So let's just say a little prayer and thank the Lord for our time here. Dear Heavenly Father, God, thank you so much for allowing us all to be able to make it safely here. Thank you for good weather and for just a wonderful time of fellowship and discussion. Thank you for each and every person who is helping with this podcast, whether speaking or helping us with the digital side of things and getting this thing edited. We are just so very appreciative for the team of people that we have that care about you and want to really focus on this Advent season on being present for you, being open to hearing your voice wherever you may be speaking to us. So we ask that you just go with us this week, every person that's listening or watching, that they will be inspired by this to take some time to really think about how they can carve out special time for you this week and to form that posture of prayerful obedience. We thank you for Pastor Ginger with her wonderful sermon series that we are just so excited to continue discussing. So in the name of Jesus we pray, amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much for watching.
Hi, I'm Ginger Isom, and I'm the pastor here at Wheeler. I hope that you enjoyed the conversation between Derek and Jade and Sarah and Amanda. And I hope you found something in it that resonated with you or was meaningful for you. One of the things that I did notice as I listened to the conversation before it has aired was that I didn't really give any examples in the sermon about how to be still. There's no way to get everything in a sermon on a given Sunday morning. So I wanted to take a few moments to share a couple of practices that you can do to help you find stillness in your life. One of those is a practice called centering prayer. Most of us have trouble thinking of prayer of anything other than going through a list of people that we need to pray for, thanking God for the blessings we have received, talking about our own personal needs. But there are many different types of prayer, and one of those is centering prayer. Centering prayer is a practice that goes back for centuries, and it is simply being still before God. There's no words involved, there are no actions that have to be done. It is simply being still in the presence of God. It's uncomfortable to start with because in our American society, we are not accustomed to being still. We're made to feel like that as being unproductive or lazy. But really, when we practice centering prayer, it can be the most productive time we spend because it is a time of renewal, of refreshment, of reminding ourselves to whom we belong and who we are. There are only a few things that you need to practice centering prayer. One of those is a quiet space free of distractions that doesn't have anything that can interrupt you. Sarah mentioned she enjoyed spending time on her back porch. That was her place to spend time with God. That's a holy place, a sacred space for her. and she spent time doing her porch prayers, as she called it, writing her porch prayers. It can be a room in your house. It can be a place out in nature. It can be your back porch somewhere by the waterfront, but someplace that is free of distractions so you can completely be still and in the presence of God. Another thing that you will need is an alarm, something to signify a time when the prayer time ends. You can have your phone, just make sure you turn the ringer off on your phone, but set the timer. I encourage you to start with 5 minutes and build up the more you practice centering prayer. But to set it for 5 minutes with an alarm that is not aggressive or obtrusive. You want something that is soft and kind of peaceful sounding as your alarm. So you have those two things. Something else you might need, and that is helpful, is to have a word or a phrase or a breath prayer, or to have something in your hands if you're someone who needs to have something to do with your fingers while you're concentrating or trying to do something. So, for instance, a word. It could be the word rest. It could be the word peace. It could be the word love. Some word that has meaning for you, or maybe a word that signifies something you're needing in your life at that moment. A breath prayer could simply be the prayer that we often say at the end of Psalm 46:10, be still and know that I am God. So as you're breathing in, be still and know, and as you breathe out, that I am God. And repeating that a couple of times, all of that is to help you come and bring you towards the center, to help you focus. You might use something in your hands like a stone. I have one here that I've written the word rest on because obviously at that point I needed rest in my life. Or you could use a palm cross. This is one that I received at an academy, and it's you can nestle it in your hands and hold on to that. And when you find yourself losing focus, just to run it through your fingers. Something else that you could use are prayer beads. And again, those are something you can hold in your hand and just run through your fingers as you feel the need to do so, or to run your thumb over the cross on the prayer beads, or whatever the pendant may be. But as you're praying, or as you're in the time of centering prayer, as I said, you're not going to have any words. You're not going to be speaking. It's simply going to be a time with you to be in the presence of Christ. Kind of like you're in the presence of someone that you're very comfortable and safe with, and you know no words are needed. That's what this is, only it's with God. But your mind's going to wander. And so when your mind wanders, that's when you use one of the hand items, or when you use your word or phrase or your breath prayer to bring you back to the center. Don't beat yourself up when your mind wanders. It happens. But simply let yourself rest in God's presence and know that you are loved, and know who you belong to, and know that there's nothing you can do to keep that love from you. Another practice is one that was mentioned in the conversation and in the sermon, and that is the practice of mindfulness. Christian mindfulness was introduced in the sermon by Amy Oden in her book, Right Here, Right Now, The Practice of Christian Mindfulness. But we've heard the word mindfulness for quite some time. The APA Dictionary of Psychology defines mindfulness simply as an awareness of one's internal states and surroundings. But what makes mindfulness Christian? Amy Oden defines it as Christian mindfulness practice is rooted in the most basic witness of Jesus, God with us right here, right now. Jesus proclaims the reign of God is at hand, here, now, available for all if we pay attention. Or as Jesus says, if we have eyes to see and ears to hear. If we are mindful. To live out the reign of God requires mindful lives, intentionally aware in each present moment of God's life and mission in the world. Christian mindfulness then is an anchoring practice, a way to abide in Christ. Christian mindfulness is paying prayerful attention in the present moment to God's abundant life. For me, Christian mindfulness involves making use of all of my senses, my sight, my sound, my hearing, my touch, my taste, my smell, to become aware of the signs of the reign of God around me, to become aware of God's presence right around me, and to also become aware of those places where God is calling me to help usher in the reign of God for others. Amanda gave an excellent example of that as she was talking about the church's trip to Walmart Sunday after worship on Black Friday weekend. The store, of course, was chaotic. She said it looked like there had been an explosion, a bomb had gone off because things had been pulled off the shelves. And of course, everybody was there and it was crazy. And she said after the sermon, she thought about how she could be more Christ-like as she was in that setting of just complete chaos. How could she be calm in the midst of that? How could she let that within her then translate to people around her so that it helped bring them a sense of calm? She was practicing Christian mindfulness, whether she realized it or not. So those are a couple of examples of how you can be still during this Advent season as we lead up to Christmas. One thing to also remember is the word no. Just because you're invited to every party, just because there's something going on, even at church, it doesn't mean you have to be at everything. Just because someone has something on their wish list for Christmas doesn't mean you have to buy that. The main thing is to help us to be conscious of the coming of Christ and to help others become conscious of that as well, and to understand that is what Christmas is about. Not the busyness, not the noise, but being still so that we receive the announcement of Christ's coming when it comes. We look forward to next week.
Beyond Sunday, beyond Sunday, beyond Sunday.